Hi, my name is Alicia and you are watching the Reptile Rendezvous. So since this is my first video, I just kind of want to tell you guys briefly what I want to do with my channel. So first of all, I just plan to make fun little education videos like this one today, as well as just show you guys some of my personal animals and how I care for them, and just bring you along on my journey. So super quickly, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about myself. I have been keeping reptiles for about 4 years now. I have 5 animals, and I can't wait to show you guys all my little critters. But with that said, let's get on to the video. So in this video, we're going to be focusing on 5 reptiles who have unique traits that you probably didn't know about. So our first entry on this list is actually hognose snakes, more specifically the Heterodon genus. So hognose snakes are actually a really common pet in the reptile world, and I'm sure you've probably seen one before on vendor tables or even at your local pet store. So their really cool trait is they actually can play dead when they're feeling very threatened or scared. So in a situation of stress, hognose snakes actually roll over onto their backs and emit a really foul odor. This then deters predators from trying to eat them, basically, which is a pretty smart defense mechanism when you think about it. Now, I'm probably going to butcher the pronunciation, but this specific defense mechanism is called thanatosis, and other animals actually do the same thing, like possums. Now, in captivity, you will very rarely see your animal do this, just because you should not be stressing out your animal to the point where they feel the need to do so, but it is still a super cool, unique trait that these guys have. Now, the second entry on this list is Tibetan hot spring snakes. Now, I guarantee you probably haven't heard of this species of snake because they are just not kept in captivity. I believe that taking care of these guys in captivity would be practically impossible due to their adaptations with their thermoregulation. So Tibetan hot spring snakes, or commonly known as Bailey snakes, actually live in freezing cold temperatures. Yes, a reptile that lives in freezing cold temperatures. I'm just as shocked as you are. They are a non-venomous colubrid from the Tibetan Plateau, and they are found near the actual hot springs. They actually use these hot springs to thermoregulate their bodies. So regular reptiles use heat from the sun, or in captivity, from their heat source, to regulate their bodies. Because unlike mammals, where our bodies are naturally hotter, reptiles are cold-blooded. Therefore, they need to thermoregulate with the sun to actually warm themselves up. And Tibetan hot snakes do this with hot springs. So despite living in freezing cold temperatures, these snakes have actually adapted naturally to living in these conditions, which is absolutely insane and such a cool, unique trait. The next animal on this list might be the absolute weirdest animal you will ever hear of. Horned lizards, also known as horny toads, are actually native to North America, and they have one of the craziest defense mechanisms I think you will ever hear of, hands down. So when they are feeling severely threatened, these lizards burst blood vessels in their eyes to squirt blood at the predator. So they literally shoot blood out of their eyes. They do this to basically confuse the predator and distract him from actually eating him, which I think is really smart, but also extremely weird. The blood that actually shoots out of their eyes tastes foul also to most predators, minus birds of prey. So not only is it distracting, but it also tastes horrible, and that actually makes the predator not want to actually eat the lizard. I actually think this might be one of the weirdest adaptations I've ever read about when it comes to reptiles. So that is definitely the weirdest entry on this list. The next animal on this list is teeny tiny, and that is going to be mourning geckos. Mourning geckos are actually really common in the reptile hobby due to this unique trait. They are relatively cheap because of how much they reproduce, and they're really small, so you can keep a lot of them in a smaller enclosure, whereas other animals you can't necessarily do that. So their unique trait is parthenogenesis. And yes, most reptiles can express parthenogenesis, but it is very rare. In the case of mourning geckos, it is their natural trait. Every single mourning gecko is a female. There is not one male in this species. And that actually means that they have to reproduce on their own. So basically every single baby that comes from these geckos are clones of the mother. That's why when people have big groups of mourning geckos, they often don't even know how many they have because they're just constantly reproducing and there's just so many in an enclosure and they're so small you can't even tell. I personally wanted mourning geckos for a really long time and it is still one of my dream species to keep eventually, so I hope that someday I can have a little army of mourning geckos. Finally, the last entry on this list is a very known lizard, and this is one of the funniest lizards you will ever see. They're always blown up in the media because of their crazy trait that just makes them look absolutely nuts. We are talking about basilisk lizards, also known as Jesus lizards. So they are from Central and South America. There is obviously lots of predators. This lizard has adopted a super unique way of escaping these predators. So when they get scared, or when there is a predator in the area, these guys will jump out of the tree that they're sitting on, run towards water, and literally run across the water, like run on water. That is why they are known as the Jesus Christ lizards. And now you might be looking at this and being like, how is this even possible? Well, their feet are specially designed to actually trap the air bubbles between their feet and the water, so they have the ability to run on water. And eventually, when the energy for running runs out, they actually submerge into the water and swim away. These lizards are some of the coolest lizards ever. And it's a huge reason why keeping them in captivity is so hard, because not only do you need climbing space, you also need lots of water. I remember when I saw a basilisk lizard running on water for the first time, my jaw was just on the floor. Like, I didn't believe it was real. And that's why they're the top entry on this list for me, because it is one of the coolest traits I've ever seen when it comes to reptiles. So that is this top 5 of animals with crazy traits you've probably never heard about. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned a little something along the way. If you want to see more content like this in the future, definitely hit that subscribe button, as well as that notification button so you know every time I post a new video. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.